and a very good morning live from, well, my bedroom. This is Kenneth Gruenfelder on another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network and GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and as always, great to have you guys here. Have a lot to talk about on the show as we normally do. But before that, obviously, to tip or donate to the show, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps support the show. And for bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this broadcast, go to patreon.com and look up GSMC Sports Network. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Had some technical issues with the software that we use to stream the content here. And so that was kind of stressing me out. But we were able to figure it out, and we're good. And, so obviously a lot happened this weekend. As I mentioned before the weekend, I was going to the Chiefs-Jets game, so I was there last night. It was an all-day affair, and what a game, really. It was an unbelievable game. The atmosphere was incredible. In the early going, it looked like it was going to be a blowout because it was 17-0 pretty much after the first quarter. And then the Jets mounted a comeback, and the game was really close. And but the Chiefs were able to pull away. Well, not pull away, but get a field goal, and they ended up winning 23-20. Zach Wilson actually looked pretty good, and Patrick Mahomes did not look so good. He almost had like 4 interceptions on the night if it wasn't for penalties. But I know that's the topic of conversation today. A lot of people are complaining about the flags, which I was able to rewatch the highlights, and I could definitely see why there were some complaints there. So, but it was a great game. You know, we had a tailgate before then, so we were in the parking lot doing that. So that was awesome. It was an all-day affair, like I said, but it was a lot of fun. So, so that was pretty much my weekend. Also a lot of stuff happened over the weekend when it comes to baseball. So we'll get into that. So obviously we'll start off the show talking about the latest news and headlines around Major League Baseball. We'll get into the game recaps from this weekend and talk about what happened and what the standings are. We'll preview the wild card matchups for tomorrow, and then I will talk about the postseason in general in the final segment and give my World Series prediction. But quick thing, there's no show tomorrow. I have for family reasons, but I'll leave that private. There'll be no show tomorrow, but personal matter. So after that, so there'll be a show on Wednesday, but no show tomorrow. So, but then I'm back on Wednesday. We'll talk about the games from the previous day, preview the games for Wednesday, and then we'll figure out everything from there. So no show tomorrow, but we're here today. So obviously, latest news and headlines. So there's a lot to unpack. So regarding players that retired, possibly played their last games. So we'll get into that. So let's talk about it. So obviously, there was a lot of baseball players, or not a lot, but a few baseball players that are saying goodbye to the game. Obviously, Miguel Cabrera, he played in his last game yesterday. Two-time AL MVP winner, 2012 Triple Crown, 12-time All-Star, 2003 World Series champ with the Marlins, and as part of the 500 home run club. He's going to be missed. Just an incredible career, and I talked about it numerous times. I mean, from the 2 years, 2012 to 2013, I mean, he just was the best hitter on the planet. I mean, he was just unbelievable, and it's just kind of unfortunate he never got to win a ring with the Tigers. They had some really good teams when he was doing really well, but it's just it stinks that he's walking away. But it was time. Obviously, he wasn't the same player he used to be. So but congrats to him on his retirement. Obviously, Terry Francona managed his last game yesterday. 1,950 wins, 13th all-time among managers, a 2-time World Series champion, and an AL Manager of the Year. I think it's cut off because I screenshot it on Instagram, and of course it has the tag thing in the way. So I think it's an 8-time or 3-time or 8-time champ or manager of the year. I'll have to look it up now because Instagram cut it off because I was just screenshotting it just so I had it for the show, but now of course it of course is cut off. But yeah, I mean, again, just an incredible career for Terry Francona, and very well deserved for him, and like I've talked about, dealt with some health issues over the course of the last couple of years, so it's I think obviously same thing. It's it was time, and yeah, so he was a three time. So 2013, 2016, 2022 manager of the year. But he managed some really good Red Sox teams. So you know, and actually, I guess none of those awards were with the Red Sox because he got him after his tenure there. So that's interesting. Um, but yeah, so another guy walking away from the game as well, in terms of manager. Also, you got Zach Greinke as well and Adam Wainwright. Adam Wainwright, 2017 Silver Slugger, 3-time All-Star World Series champ, 200 wins, 2,200 strikeouts, 2 Gold Gloves, and funny thing, they honored him as well, and they're talking about how with his family, they wouldn't get a dog until he retired, and that ended up happening. They brought over a basket, and inside of it was a dog. So they have the Wainwright family now has a dog. So so that was kind of funny, as well. So you had them honoring him, and then also Zach Greinke pitched in what possibly was his final game, and he ended up picking up the win, his second win on the season, and he had a rough season. Got his second win on the year, but pitched very well against the Yankees. They ended up winning 5-2 the Royals, and he went 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 strikeouts. So and his final stats. So in 586 games, and this is in the regular season, he's 225 and 156, 3.49 ERA. Over 3,300 innings pitched, almost 3,000 strikeouts. He's at 2,979, and he's got a 1.17 WHIP. So, yeah, if this is it for him, he had a great career, was a solid pitcher, and he ends up going out on a high note. Picking up the win against the Yankees, and Royals picked up the win, winning 5-2. So. If this is it for him, it's best of luck if he ends up retiring. But also other major news, which is not good news, and it was something that we all learned last week, and that was the fact that Tim Wakefield, a Red Sox pitcher, passed away from brain cancer, and there was some, I guess I guess controversy over that because Curt Schilling, who pitched for the Red Sox as well, he talked about it on his podcast, and he got a lot of backlash for it because the Wakefield family wanted to keep it private, and so a lot of people are really upset with him, and I mean, it makes sense why. I mean, you don't go and do that. Especially when the family wants to keep it private. I don't really know the whole story with that, but, obviously that's not something the Wakefield family wanted. And then, he passed away yesterday, and it's just very unfortunate. And, my heart goes out to, his family and the Red Sox family, really. Tim Wakefield, obviously another guy that, is part of my childhood, somebody that's 23, and he was part of a... I don't want to say, he was part of a pitcher that technique that you don't really see that often, and that's being a knuckleballer. Between him, R.A. Dickey, I think Stephen Wright for the Red Sox also, and I'm definitely missing others, but those are the most notable ones I could think of. Um, it's that's something you don't really see um, and anymore. So it was it stinks. It really it's unfortunate that this happened, and it just came out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere, really. And yeah, but yeah, he was a part of my childhood. He was a part of many people's childhoods, and it's just terrible news. And again, my heart goes out to his family and the Red Sox. But yeah, so yeah, kind of a sour way to kind of close off this segment. But yeah, so that was another major thing that came from this weekend was that. So but yeah, um, so obviously that's pretty much it when it comes to this segment. We're gonna get into the game recaps from this weekend. We'll talk about what happened there because I mean a lot of stuff happened. The playoff bracket is set, so obviously, yeah, we'll go through the wild card round, and then we'll preview the pretty much the entire postseason. I'll give my thoughts on that and how I think that's all gonna play out. And I think based off of what I've said numerous times, you kind of know where my World Series prediction is gonna go, but it could change. It's not going to be something outlandish. I can tell you that right now. It isn't. But we'll talk about it. We'll get into it. But yeah, the regular season is over. That's it. We're in the postseason now, and yeah, it's about to get wild. Hence the wild card round. That was a bad joke, but yeah. But I mean, listen, it was a crazy weekend. I mean, you could hear it in my voice because I was screaming last night at the game I was at. I mean, I'm not even a Jet fan. I went because I wanted to see, Mahomes play live. And I bought the tickets before the season started. So I thought we were going to get Rodgers versus Mahomes for the first time. And, yeah, we're not getting that. But still, ended up getting a great game regardless. And it was perfect though because we went yesterday. It's October. It's not cold yet. It's still shorts and a hoodie. That's what the weather is now. So but yeah, it was a great game, and I had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, my voice is kind of not up to par right now, but it's fine. It'll get better as the week goes on. I just hope I don't lose it completely, which I'm not. But because I have over the course of the last 2 years, I've lost my voice at least twice, and do not want that happening, especially now doing this show. So, but I don't know how you guys feel about that. If you guys want me to lose my voice or not, but yeah. So, but it was a great weekend. It really was. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to this segment. So when we come back from our first break, we're going to recap the series from this weekend. We'll go over the standings, what ended up being the final standings for the regular season, and then and that'll be the second segment there. So, but yeah, a lot happened over the weekend. We saw things change on the last day of the regular season. So. But we'll get into all that when we come back. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second segment of today's show, we are going to recap the games from this weekend. We'll go over the scores and the final standings to go along with that. So let's get right into that. So obviously with the standings, so we're just going to go through the standings first because um, yeah, a lot happened. So obviously, the Orioles, they have home field advantage throughout the playoffs at 101 and 61. And it's just crazy how 2 years ago they went from. I had the thing up. I had it saved. So in 2021, and I've talked about this, they went from 52 and 110, and then 2 years later going 101 and 61. I mean, that's incredible. That's incredible that they were able to do that. I mean, what a turnaround. A great young team, and we'll see what they could do in the playoffs. I mean, they got a first round bye, and they got home field advantage. I mean, it's just incredible. So yeah, they got that, finishing 101 and 61. Rays, they got that top wild card spot, 99 and 63, a really good regular season for them. And listen, they got off to that really hot start, and it looked like they were going to run away with the division, and then they fell back down to earth. And then the Orioles surpassed them and ended up winning the division. So, but still, an incredible season for them in the regular season. And yeah, they got that top wild card spot, so good for them. And yeah, and the Blue Jays, they ended up getting the second wild card spot at 89 and 73. Twins, they got the Central at 87 and 75. And this is where it got crazy. So it looked like the Rangers were going to clinch the West. They ended up not. It was the Houston Astros. They ended up being tied, but Astros had the tiebreaker. So the Astros ended up going 90 and 72. And they clinched the division. Rangers lost the final game. And because of that, Astros took the division. Rangers are going to be playing in the wild card round. So we'll get into the recaps for this weekend. But yeah, so then after that, we got the Braves, of course, 104 and 58. Phillies finished at 90 and 72. They got the top wild card spot in the National League. And the Marlins ended up clinching the final, or actually they ended up getting the second wild card spot. They're over the Diamondbacks now. And yeah, the Diamondbacks got the third wild card spot. So yeah, the Cubs got eliminated this weekend. And it's just crazy how that ended up happening because I really thought they were a lock for the playoffs. I just did. And that ended up not happening. They just did not play well towards the end of the season. And yeah, it just it's unfortunate for them. And it just kind of angers me as a Yankee fan because the Yankees could have maybe went out and got Cody Bellinger if the Cubs were selling. And that ended up not being the case. So yeah, just not what you want there, but it is what it is. And we'll see what happens with the Cubs in the offseason. Is Bellinger going to come back? I mean, listen, if the Cubs ended up making the play, like walking into the postseason, I think there was probably a better chance that he was going to come back. But now, not so sure. Not so sure now. So, yeah, Cubs end up missing the playoffs. So Diamondbacks got the final wild card spot because they ended up losing. They ended up losing 4 in a row. So that's not what you want heading into the postseason. And then, of course, you have the Dodgers, 162. So they got their 100 wins. Brewers finished 92 and 70. So they have the third seed. And yeah, that's the playoffs right there. Those are all your playoff teams. So let's get into the scores now for this weekend. So we'll go back to Friday. So Royals and the Yankees. So I did not watch this game. And thankfully I didn't. Because when I checked the score, and Jordan Lyles again picked up another win against the Yankees. So when I watched this game, or didn't watch this game, when I checked the score for this game, it was 8-0 in the first inning. Carlos Rodon did not record a single out. Not a single out. He got nothing. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I don't. I really don't know what to say. And after the game, he said like he has property in Kansas City. He said he's gonna go there without his wife, no kids, and just not think about baseball for however long, he stays there. Listen, it was a terrible first season with the Yankees with Carlos Rodon. He finishes 3-8 with a 6.85 ERA. And the Yankees have him for 5 more years. It's not good. Not good at all. So yeah, they ended up losing, like I said, 12-5. I mean, listen, they ended up getting their winning record for the 31st or 32nd consecutive year, 82-80, which is the worst record I've seen in my lifetime. But yeah, it's that was bad. That was really bad. Marlins, they picked up a huge win against the Pirates on Friday. They were down 3-0 going into the 8th inning, and they scored 4 runs. And they ended up winning the game 4-3. So that was a big win there, because it looked like it was possible that it could all come down to that Mets game where they'd have to go back to Citi Field and finish that up and clinch the postseason doing that, but they didn't. They ended up not having to worry about that. So, but that was a big win for them. Guardians won 7-5 over the Tigers. Red Sox won 3-0 over the Orioles on Friday. Pivetta picked up the win. Means picked up the loss. Blue Jays won 11-4 over the Rays. Kikuchi picked up his 11th win on the season. Savali dropped to 7-5. The Braves lost 10-6 to the Nationals. Padres won 3-2 over the White Sox. Twins won 7-6 over the Rockies. Cubs again lost in walk-off fashion to the Brewers on Friday. So again, that was another crushing loss for them. Reds won 19-2 over the Cardinals. Angels won 5-1 over the A's. Astros won 2-1 over the Diamondbacks. Mariners won 8-0 over the Rangers. Excuse me. And then the Dodgers ended up defeating the Giants 6-2. So those were all the scores from Friday. So that was a big loss for the Rangers. Yeah, at that point we're only one game up. So then you get to Saturday, and Rangers won 6-1. Astros won again 1-0. Justin Verlander improved to 13-8 on the season. So he went 5 innings, 2 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, and then the bullpen did their job. And Diamondbacks, their bullpen and Merrill Kelly, they did their job, but Diamondbacks just could not get anything going against Verlander and Astros bullpen, so they ended up losing that game. And the Rangers did win 6-1, so yeah, so they were one game up. All they had to do was just win yesterday, and they would have clinched the division, but that ended up not happening. The A's beat the Angels 7-3. Giants won 2-1 over the Dodgers. Twins won 14-6. Braves won 5-3. Cardinals won 15-6 over the Reds. Orioles won 5-2. Cubs won 10-6, but that was the night that they were eliminated because the Marlins won again 7-3. Padres won 6-1, so they improved to 81-80. Ended up finishing 82-80. The Mets swept the doubleheader against the Phillies. The Rays won 7-5 in extra innings over the Blue Jays. Tigers won 8-0. Yankees won 5-2. So that was and Frankie Montas actually made his debut on Saturday, and he actually got the win. So good for him. And yeah, the Yankees improved to 82-79. This is Saturday, and then we moved to Sunday. 5-2 they lost. 82-80. Greinke picked up the win. Michael King picked up the loss. Did not pitch that well. Red Sox won 6-1 over the Orioles. Dodgers won 5-2 to get to their 100th win on the season. The Marlins lost 3-0. Angels beat the A's 7-3. Rays 12-8 over the Blue Jays. Tigers 5-2 over the Guardians. Again, Miguel Cabrera's last game. Astros won 8-1. So they just and Christian Javier actually pitched very well. Went 10 to improve to 10-5. So let's see how many innings he went. 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. So yeah, he did pretty good. And then the Mariners ended up winning 1-0. George Kirby picked up his 13th win on the season. Dunning drops to 12-7. Yeah, so that was a crushing loss. And it was on a ground out that scored a run. That was their only run of the game. That was the only run of the whole game. Rockies won an extra innings, 3-2 over the Twins. Phillies won 9-2 or 9-1. So they finished with a 90-72 record on the regular season. Braves lose 10-9 to the Nationals. Padres, another extra innings win for the Padres. Good for them. So they ended up finishing the season with the winning record. But again, fall short of the postseason. Brewers win 4-0 over the Cubs. So they get 92 wins on the regular season, and then the Cardinals won 4-3 over the Reds. So those are all the games. And yeah, my takeaways, the Rangers, they were in the driver's seat and they ended up choking it. So that doesn't make me feel good going into the playoffs when it comes to them. And especially because now they're playing the Rays. So, but you know what? I still think that's going to be a good series. So we'll just have to wait and see, as I always say. But yeah, that definitely... and I saw a video of Alex Bregman, and he kind of he gave a mini speech. It was it was something about what would happen if that Houston didn't win the division, and it was just, I guess we'll never know. And then they started celebrating. So, listen, I said the Astros were going to win the division, but when they were struggling, I said, well, I think at this point, Rangers are in the driver's seat. They're probably going to end up getting it. And I said the Astros are going to make the playoffs still. Mariners, at that point, I was yeah, they'll probably be on the outside looking in, and that was the case. It's just it's not how I envisioned it before the weekend. So, but yeah, that's Astros end up getting the division anyways. So they have the but they have the third seed. No, they have the second seed. What am I saying? Yeah, so they ended up getting a first round bye. So of course they do. Yeah, it just I know, and it just didn't look like they were. It looked like they might finish with not even get to 90 wins, and they ended up getting the 90 wins anyways. Well, exactly 90 wins. So, but yeah, they did what they were supposed. They swept the Diamondbacks, who were, they were in a playoff spot. They wanted to keep that. Now they got the third wild card spot. So, but yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to this segment. The next segment, we'll preview the wild card round, and I'll kind of give my thoughts on that. And then the final segment, we'll just talk about the postseason as a whole, and I'll give my World Series prediction and who I think is going to end up winning it. Which again is not going to be that outlandish, but I'm not going to make some outrageous prediction because I don't know. I don't have the courage to do so, but. Yeah, so when we come back from our second break, that's what we're going to do. We're going to preview the wild card round, and then we'll get into the rest of the postseason, talk about that as a whole. So that'll be when we come back from our second break. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to preview the wild card series for both leagues. I'll give my thoughts on that and what I see the outcome going to be for each of those series. So we got 4 games. Obviously, it's a best of 3 series. Obviously, we originally had the wild card game where it was just a 1-game playoff, and before that, it used to just be 4 teams from each league that made the playoffs. But it's changed over the years, and this is now, I mean, I guess if you want to be technical, it's technically the 3rd year they're doing this because they did this during the COVID season. But I mean, when the COVID season, listen, it counts, but obviously for a lot of people, it really doesn't, just because it was only a 60-game season. And yeah, but technically it's the 3rd year they're doing this. So yeah, so we got 4 games. We got 8 teams playing, and this is how it's shaken out. So we got the Rangers and the Rays. That'll be the first game. It's at 3:08 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. Then you got the Blue Jays and the Twins, 4:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Diamondbacks and the Brewers, 7:08 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we got the Marlins and the Phillies, 8:08 p.m. Eastern Time. So, I mean, I like these matchups. Obviously, we got some, Marlins and the Phillies, division rivals, playing each other. I mean, I like these matchups. I think, these are going to be good series. So, I'll give my thoughts on these. So, with the Rangers and the Rays, this one I think has the potential to be the best series because the Rangers have a very good lineup. The Rays being at home. I mean, listen, Tropicana Field in the playoffs, it doesn't fully pack out, but a lot of people go to those games when the Rays are in the playoffs. And yeah, so I don't know why MLB doesn't have the pitching matchups updated. I don't even think it's on. Yeah, they don't even have them. Oh wait, so it looks like Jordan Montgomery is going to get the start, at least on CBS. Excuse me, but on CBS, they have the pitching matchups. It's but for some reason MLB at bat doesn't have them. But yeah, so it's Jordan Montgomery against Glass now. So Jordan Montgomery obviously has pitched against the Rays a bunch of times from his days as a Yankee. So that's the game 1 starters. Then game 2, so you got Eovaldi and Eflin most likely, and then do they have the matchups for game 3 if necessary? So right now they have Adam Savali and Andrew Heaney on CBS. So yeah, I mean, it's this one's going to be a tough series to kind of predict because Rays are a very good team. Rangers have a very good lineup. It's just, I don't know how the Rangers played against the Mariners. I mean, the Rangers have been very hot and cold. They sweep. They swept the Blue Jays. Then they got swept by the Guardians. They kind of choked the AL West lead. They swept the Mariners. It's just, I don't really know. It's going to be that one's kind of tough. But I think this could go 3 games. So, I mean, we're just going to have to, wait and see. But I kind of like the Rays in this series. I think the Rays ultimately win this series. I feel like also when you have to look at the Rangers and their rotation as well, it took some hits with Scherzer and DeGrom, even though Scherzer really was not very good. Also, Aroldis Chapman pitching in big games here. I don't really like that either. So, but you know what, the Rangers, I think the key for them is their lineup. Their lineup is very good. And obviously didn't have a good game yesterday, losing 1-0. But I think they got the lineup to hang with the Rays. They do. And I think it could go. This series could go 3 games. I could definitely see that. I think both of these teams are kind of even in terms of the Rangers have their lineup, but I don't know. I think I got to give the edge to the Rays, slight edge to the Rays. like I said, could see the series going 3 games, but I'm going to give the edge to the Rays. That they're going to win. But, I mean, listen, the Rangers have a lot of guys that have hit a bunch of home runs. You got Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager's had a very good year, Simeon, some of their young players, obviously, Josh Young. So they got a good team, the Rangers, and they could of course win this series. It's just I don't think they're going to. I think the Rays are going to win this. I think they're going to take it. So then we go to the Blue Jays and the Twins. It's not a good matchup for the Twins. Now listen. The Blue Jays, I don't really trust them either. However, the Twins just every time they go to the playoffs, they don't go anywhere. And I feel like this is going to be more of the same. I like the Blue Jays better than the Twins in this series. I mean, we could go through the pitching matchups. So tomorrow, you got Pablo Lopez against Gosman. So I'm guessing then Sonny Gray is going to go on Wednesday. Yeah, so it's going to be Sonny Gray against Barrios, it looks like. Then you got Joe Ryan against Chris Bassett. I feel like, if the Twins lose Game 1, I mean, Sonny Gray gives them a very good chance. I mean, he actually got Barrios, who's a former Twin, going up against them in Game 2. I mean, I don't know. I just like the Blue Jays lineup better. Their rotation is good. I don't know. I mean, listen, the Twins are at home, so that helps. So maybe this series goes 3 games as well, but I think the Blue Jays take this. I think they do. I like them better as a team. But again, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, this is another one that can definitely go 3 games. I mean, listen, you got Sonny Gray, who's their best starter, going Game 2 against Barrios, who I think is hittable. I think Gosman gives them the edge in Game 1. I think Sonny Gray kind of gives the Twins the edge in Game 2. I like him over Barrios. And then you got Bassett and Joe Ryan. I mean, listen, Chris Bassett didn't pitch well in the playoff game for the Mets last year, so how is he going to be this year pitching for the Blue Jays? And this time it's not a home game. He's the away team now. So yeah, I mean, might come down to Game 3 again with Bassett on the mound. So, but yeah, I like the Blue Jays. I'm going to say the Blue Jays, they take this series. You know what? I'm going to say this also goes 3 games. I'm going to say it does. So yeah, that's the second series. Then we got the Brewers and the Diamondbacks. So this is an interesting series. Game 1, it's going to be fought against Corbin Burns. I like the Brewers to take that. So I'm guessing, Zach Gallen's going to pitch in Game 2 against Brandon Woodruff. So this game is going to be close. I think Game 2, Woodruff's been very good this year. Gallen, Cy Young candidate. And obviously, I kept saying his name wrong. This one's going to be close. And then let's see what the Game 3 starters are. So you got Kelly against Peralta. Man. This one's tough. You know what? I don't know. See, the Brewers have very good pitching. And listen, if the Diamondbacks don't take Game 1, they have their best 2 starters going in 2 and 3. Brewers are at home, though. Diamondbacks are not coming in these playoffs on a high note right now. I'm going to say the Diamondbacks take this series in 3 games. I'm going to say they lose Game 1, but they win Games 2 and 3. So far I have every single series going to 3 games. But now we got the Phillies and the Marlins. All right. So go to Tuesday's matchup. So you got Luzardo against Wheeler. Game 2, you have Garrett against Nola. And then if there is a Game 3, You got Cabrera and Suarez. Listen, the Phillies' home field advantage last year was like insane, and even though Aaron Nola has been a very inconsistent pitcher, he was solid in the postseason last year. Phillies got such a great lineup. I think the Phillies take this in 2 games. I do. Listen, the Marlins. I mean, listen, they could shock the world and beat the Phillies, but I think this one is. I just like the Phillies in this matchup. I do, and especially being at home. But I don't know. We're just gonna have to wait. We're just gonna have to wait and see. That's just my my take, even though it may not be the best, of course. But I just think the Phillies are a better team. I mean, you kind of look at the other matchups, and like, you know, I see those going 3 games possibly. This one, I think the Phillies take both games, the first 2 games. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. You know. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the wild card preview, and then obviously when we get into the final segment, we'll talk about the postseason as a whole, and I'll give my my opinion on that, and how I think it's going to end up shaking out. So that'll be the final segment, and then that'll be it. So, but let me know what you guys think. How do you think these series are going to play out? You know, I mean, again, when it comes to like the Diamondbacks and the Brewers, their offense seems to just disappear in the playoffs. So that's my thinking. Is you know, the Diamondbacks, they got their 2 best starters going 2 and 3. You know, you maybe think. I mean, obviously, when it comes to the postseason, you know, some starters definitely have a shorter leash. So maybe like with Fought, you know, he goes a couple innings and then they put in their bullpen. But I don't know. I'm just guessing here. But I against Corbin Burns and Fought really didn't have a good record on the regular season. I think the Brewers take at least game 1, and then I don't know. But you know what? Baseball is unpredictable, and you know you can look at the pitching matchups and be like, oh, well, I mean, I think this team is going to win, but that might not necessarily be the case. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on that. So, but yes, that's the 3rd segment of the show. So then when we come back from our final break, we'll talk about the postseason in general, and I will talk about who I ultimately think is going to win it all and what the matchup will be in the World Series. So, but before that, obviously, again, to remind you, for donations and tips, to get your comments recognized, go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really supports the show. And for bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this broadcast, make sure to go to patreon.com and look up GSMC Sports Network. So, yeah, so when we come back from break, we will discuss the postseason, the whole thing. Obviously, I told you who I think is going to move on from the wild card round, and then yeah, we will get into you know, how the rest of it will go, who I think is going to end up getting to the World Series, and who's going to win the whole thing, like I just said. So that'll be when we come back from our final break of this show. So stick around, and we will be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, and for the final segment of today's show, we are going to talk about the rest of the postseason, and I will give my predictions, who I think is going to ultimately get to the World Series and who is ultimately going to win it. So obviously, so I do have a graphic for today's show. So I couldn't get the whole bracket like in perfectly, so you're just gonna have to bear with me on that. But so obviously Blue Jays, Diamondbacks, Braves, and Orioles are kind of cut off, so I apologize for that. Um, but yeah, this is the bracket right here. So Blue Jays are the are playing the Twins, and then you got the Rangers and the Rays in on the American League side of things. So I think before, did I say? I guess I did say the Blue Jays got the second. So yeah, they ended up with getting the third wild card. So that's my fault. I made that mistake. Um, yeah. So the Rangers, they're at the 5. Rays are 4. Twins 3. Blue Jays 6. Then on the other side, Diamondbacks got the 6. Brewers are the 3. Marlins are the 5. Phillies are the 4. And then of course you have the teams that are on the byes. The Orioles who are cut off. The Braves who are cut off. The Dodgers are cut off, or not cut off, and then you got the Astros, both 2 seeds. So I said Blue Jays, they're gonna move on. So I guess they're gonna end up playing. I don't. Yeah. So then you got and then I said the Rangers move on from there, or no, the Rays. Sorry. Um, then on the other side, I said the Diamondbacks, and then I said the Phillies, of course. So they would end up moving on. And yeah, so I guess when that happens, then Blue Jays are going to end up playing the Astros, and the Rangers or the Rays are going to end up playing the Orioles. So those would be the matchups there. And then you got the Diamondbacks would end up playing. So I actually have both 6 seeds moving on. And then you have the Phillies, who are going to end up playing the Braves. So you got a couple of so you got an AL East matchup, then you would have an NL East matchup, and then an NL West matchup. So I think though the Dodgers and the Braves move on. I think the Astros move on. The Orioles, if they end up playing the Rays, or they end up playing the Blue Jays, I just like the Orioles. I think they move on. So the Final Four is going to end up being, which is going to be the teams that are all on byes, which you kind of think at least one of those teams isn't. But like I could see, I mean the Phillies. Listen, I think the Phillies could beat anybody because of their lineup and because they got 2 guys at the top of their rotation that in the postseason, at least last year, were good. So that could definitely derail this. I just don't. I don't think anybody is going to beat the Braves. I just don't see it happening. Unless again the Dodgers, but there's some concerns with the Dodgers rotation. That's one of the biggest concerns there. Is their rotation when it comes to the Dodgers. Same thing with the Orioles too. So I think ultimately though, it's going to be the Houston Astros that get back to the World Series on the American League side. And I don't know. I just feel like when it comes to the postseason, and until they're done, that's when I'll believe it. Because listen, they weren't done when I kept saying I said the Rangers were gonna win the division. Rangers ended up choking that away. Astros get it, and they end up getting the AL West again, and they end up getting a bye. And now, listen, I think they're gonna end up going because listen, you got Verlander. Christian Javier pitched good in his final start, so you hope that carries over. So I just think they're the best team right now. I just don't see the Twins, the Blue Jays. I don't see them getting past Houston. Listen, the Rays, they're a very good team, but I just don't really trust them to go far in the postseason. I feel like, their pitching gets burnt out at the end. So the Orioles, listen, they could definitely make it. all the way. It's just, again, I have concerns about their rotation. And, of course, there's concerns with the Astros, too. I mean, they've had some bad stretches over the course of the regular season. They got swept by the Royals. So, I mean, anything can happen. It's just, I feel like when it comes to the Astros, I think they're going to go back. I really do. And then I think the Braves are going to make it. I think this is the Braves' year. Acuna he's the MVP. Matt Olson's had a great year. The rotation is very good. They're a complete team. And I just feel like this is their year. Last year it was a disappointing ending, losing to the Phillies, but I think ultimately they go all the way and they get to the World Series. So I think it's going to be Astros against the Braves. So this is going to be a repeat of 2021. And I think the Braves are going to take it. I think the Braves end up winning the World Series, which again is a popular opinion, but they're a very complete team. And I feel like the Astros, with their struggles this year, I can't really say that they are going to win the whole thing. Can they? Of course they can. But I think the Braves, they're going to be the World Series champion. Because I don't know who's going to beat them. Phillies can. I think the Phillies and the Dodgers have probably the best chance to beat them. But I think it's going to end up being the Braves going all the way and winning the whole thing. Just because they've been insane. And on the Astros side, listen, they've had their tough stretches, but I trust them over a lot of these teams. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think. Who do you guys have winning the World Series? Is it pretty much the same as me? Which for a lot of people it probably is. But so that's basically my thoughts on it. But it should be very fun. Obviously, those are my predictions, and I'll see how accurate they are as the postseason goes along. But yeah, I think the Final Four is going to end up being, everybody that's on a bye. I think the Orioles. I think it's going to be them. I think it's going to be the Astros, Braves, Dodgers. That's the championship series right there. However it shakes out. So, and then ultimately, it's going to be a repeat of 2021. Braves over the Astros. But we're just going to have to see. I mean, listen, the Braves, they have a complete team. And I don't know. I don't see anybody knocking them off. The Dodgers obviously have had a really good season too, winning 100 games. But, ultimately, again, concerns with the rotation. You got Kershaw, who's older, Lance Lynn, Bobby Miller. Like, the rotation's not, as good as it has been in years past. The lineup's very good. That's the key right there is your lineup. You got Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, JD Martinez having a good year, Max Muncy. All those guys have, I think, was it over 30 home runs this year? I want to double check on that. Freddie Freeman's been great this year. He's been another MVP candidate. Because I don't know if it's that or it was like over 100 RBIs. Let's take a look. At least over 25 home runs. Freddie Freeman finished at 29 home runs. But yeah, I think it had to be over like 100 RBIs, like 25 home runs, 100 RBIs, I guess. Yeah, but listen, I think that's the competition that the Braves are going to have to deal with is the Dodgers. But I just feel like ultimately the Braves are going to get back to the World Series. And then there's no games on Friday, and then the division series starts on Saturday. Yeah, so the Orioles, they'll play the winner of Tampa and Texas. Astros will play the winner of the Blue Jays and the Twins. Braves will play the winner of the Marlins and the Phillies, so that's like the NL East bracket right there. And then the Brewers and the Diamondbacks will play. One of them is going to play the Dodgers. So, and then where to watch the games. So with the wild card series, Braves Rangers, it's going to be on ABC. Blue Jays Twins will be on ESPN. Diamondbacks and Brewers will be on ESPN2. Marlins and Phillies will be on ESPN. So that's all those series. And then starting on Saturday, the Orioles series with whether it's Tampa or Texas, that'll be on Fox. So both American League series will be on Fox. So the Astros playing whoever, Twins or Blue Jays will be on Fox. TBS will have Diamondbacks and Brewers playing against the Dodgers. And then it says to be determined for the Braves. So I'm assuming that's going to be, let's see. CBS is not letting me look. Let me see. Let me check. Well, actually, no. Hold on. Let's see. I'm looking right now. I don't know why MLB doesn't have like its stuff updated, but all right. So yeah, I don't know what that's gonna be on, but yeah. So at least that's what Saturday's gonna be, because it says to be determined, and now the Fox logo just went away on the National League Series. But yeah, but check your local listings. But yeah, at least for the wild card series, you got ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, and then ESPN for the last game of the day. So that's Tuesday through Thursday. So yeah, that's basically it. We're at the playoffs now. This is it. This is where things get crazy. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe. I try to answer all the comments, but obviously, yeah, like I said in the beginning of the show, there's going to be no show tomorrow. But I'll be back on Wednesday, so we'll talk about the games from Tuesday. And obviously, do our recaps, our previews, and all that. So yeah. But yeah, no show tomorrow. But like I said, we'll be back on Wednesday, and then we go from there. So, but yeah, hope again, as always, it's great to have you guys here. Shortly after this, I will record the Patreon episode of this, and then make sure to go check that out. Go to patreon.com, search up GSMC Sports Network, and yeah, that's pretty much it for today's show. Obviously, like I said, I had some. I was stressing to get the stream ready because I don't know what was going on with the software. This never happened before, but yeah, but we'll be back again on Wednesday. Hopefully, the stream will just start up. I was able to figure it out, so hopefully, nothing crazy happens after that. And then yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be recording the Patreon shortly after this, so make sure to check that out. All the shows from last week are up on Spotify and on both YouTube channels broken down, so if you missed anything, make sure to go check that out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So as always, thank you guys for joining me today. Again, we'll be back on Wednesday. Enjoy the playoffs for tomorrow. And yeah, so as always, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off from the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Take care.